Things are definitely heating up, no pun intended, for these video game companies going into 2024. And there's nothing short of news. I know January's normally a little slow, but we already have a few releases we know about, some news coming out about what may happen, some rumors and everything like that. So I already did a video on top games to come out in 2024. We also did a video on what does Nintendo's 2024 look like, and today we're going to be talking about what's going on with Xbox and Microsoft, what's going on with their plans, what are they going to do with their first party, their third party. There's rumors they may go third party, everything like that. So there's a lot to get into. So if you are a fan of Xbox gaming, Nintendo, everything, we do all that here on Manta XP. So please consider subscribing as we move in March towards 1,000 subscribers. So I really appreciate it. Leave a like on this video as well. Now let's get into this Xbox news right after this. Now, the first aspect of Xbox I want to get into is first party. So the biggest thing that happened over the last 2 years that we've been hearing about, the FTC case, the CMA, all that, and that was the Activision Blizzard King acquisition by Microsoft. Now, this took a while to happen, but it finally did come to fruition. There's been a lot of anticipation to see which of these games will be coming to Xbox first, specifically coming to Gamepass. Now, Phil Spencer has been on the record saying, hey, we can't just throw everything in. It's not going to be a, quick 1 week thing. We made the announcement. We've been working behind the scenes to try and make this thing happen. We've seen them fixing the servers for Call of Duty and getting more making sure everything is straight over there. But then we also have a bunch of games that people want from Activision to come back, but there's licensing things going on with that, with Spider-Man, Marvel, Transformers, all these kind of things that people want to come back, but there's things with licensing with movies and things like that, and then music, of course. So we don't know what's going on with that, but we do expect a developer direct that is rumored to happen. We got our first one last year, which also had the shadow drop with Hi-Fi Rush, and we can kind of expect them to kind of do this going forward. And I think it is smart for Microsoft to do that. It gives us a great insight, talk to the developers, sit down, kind of see like their thought process behind these games, get more in tune with it, and then we get a good roadmap for the rest of the year, or at least the first half of the year, to see what's coming from their first party. Now, unfortunately, we do not have solid release dates for most of Xbox's first party games. What's going on, guys? So editor Manta here, just to I'm sure you guys have heard already, but they did, literally after I filmed this, they announced that the developer direct will be taking place on January 18th. So that's going to be Thursday, January 18th, the same week that this video is being uploaded. I do plan to do a whole breakdown of the developer direct, so just you guys can look forward to that. Hopefully it's going to be good, and I'll see you guys when I post that video. So we know we did see Avowed at the Xbox showcase last year, and it's starting to look really good. This looks kind of like a Obsidian's version of Skyrim or an Elder Scrolls game, so that's definitely looking good. We also have games like Dungeons of Hinterberg and Towerborn, which I'm looking forward to. I think Towerborn may be the first game we get this year, or that may be a shadow drop. I don't know, because I don't think we should just expect shadow drops every time moving forward, but it would be nice to get one of those games just, hey, this is available right now, or after the direct, you could download it tonight. And I think Towerborn is that kind of game. It's that RPG, plus you could play with friends and people online and things like that. So I think that would be a nice shadow drop to throw in after the direct. We, of course, have Hellblade 2, which we saw at the Game Awards. We've been seeing it. It was the first game announced for the Xbox Series X all the way back at the Game Awards in 2019. So listen, at this point, everybody's just ready for it. We haven't gotten a solid release date, of course, like I said, but I can't tell if this is going to be the big, holiday game for Xbox, if they want to keep, polishing it up as much as they can, up to the last minute, but we'll have to see. And then the last first party game is Indiana Jones, which is supposed to be coming from Machine Games. And, we had the new Indiana Jones movie in 2023. So people were thinking this game may coincide with that, but it didn't end up happening that way. Now, Todd Howard is a big fan of Indiana Jones. I know he's really excited for this game, so we're kind of waiting to see. We haven't really seen anything outside of that, not even CGI trailer, just that little, 30-second clip of just his whip and a map of where he's going and everything like that. We don't know if it's first party, third party. We don't know if it's based on a movie, if there's a tie in there. We don't really have a lot of information on this game, so we're still waiting to hear about that, but that's pretty much what Microsoft has coming as far as first party that we can expect for 2024. And now moving on to third party. So there's plenty of games coming out for third party. Like I said, I did my top anticipated games for 2024 list, so we can expect a lot of these games to be coming to Xbox as well. And then starting off, in chronological order, in January, on January 18th, we do have Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. I mentioned this before. There's been a lot of reports. People are reviewing this game right now. There's been 4K, 120 FPS. People are saying it's really smooth. They can't say too much because the embargo hasn't been lifted yet at the time of me recording this video, so you can't really tell how the game's actually going to end up. But my bet is that this game's going to be at least like an 85, 86 plus on Metacritic. It's looking really good, and a good platformer for a lot of people. Then the next week on January 24th, we have Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. We've seen that relationship between Sega and Gamepass, especially with the Yakuza games and their Atlas games with Persona series. So we've been seeing a lot of the Like a Dragon games going into Gamepass, so you can play that day one. We also have Tekken 8 coming out on January 26th. So again, Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter both dropped last year, and then we have Tekken 8 at the top of this year. So classic fighting game for people that are fans of the series. Then on February 2nd, we have a couple games. We have Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, which a lot of people are very hesitant on coming from Rocksteady, but we'll have to see how that turns out. And then we also, speaking of Atlas, we do have the Persona 3 Reload coming out, which will also be day one in Game Pass. And I'm looking forward to this because the Persona series it's highly regarded, and for it to get a remake, Persona 3 being the oldest out of the 3, 4, and 5 games, is great to see. So definitely looking forward to jumping into that. We also have Dragon's Dogma 2 on March 22nd, which is going to be an action RPG coming from Capcom, and this was kind of a surprise. A lot of people like the first Dragon's Dogma, so getting a sequel is definitely welcome. Then in Q1, we do have Stalker 2 Hearts of Chernobyl. Again, this game has been delayed. Supposed to come out April 2022, believe it or not, and it's been having good showings, at Gamescom and other things like that. The developers have been saying it's been coming along well. Of course, we know what's going on over there with the war with Russia and everything, so hopefully everybody over there is okay, but the game is expected to come out on Q1 this year. We have Yuden Chronicles 100 Heroes, which I've spoken about on the channel before, coming out on April 23rd, which is a RPG with different battle elements as well as building up your army and things like that, and it's also going to be day one in Game Pass. On August 20th, we have Black Myth Wukong, which is going to be another Souls-like game based on Journey to the West, which is looking really cool. We have Final Fantasy 14 finally making it to Xbox. We've been seeing Phil really work on getting that relationship with Square Enix back where it needs to be, because there's certain games that just can't skipped out on, and there's money left on the table. So hopefully we will get that, and then of course other Square Enix games coming to Xbox. We have Metaphor ReFantazio, which is one of my most anticipated games of the year, just like that fantasy slash like Fire Emblem Persona crossover. Looking forward to that in fall 2024. We have Star Wars Outlaws, no full release date on that. Suikoden 1 and 2 HD. Some more JRPGs coming with Visions of Mana coming at some point in 2024. And then a bunch of other games that we don't have release dates for. 33 Immortals, we have Replace, we have Flintlock, we have all these great games that are going to be either just you can play it on Xbox because that's where you game, or if you have Game Pass, you could play a lot of these day one. So again, there's a lot coming down the pipeline. It's just a matter of when, the quality of the games. Of course, some of these third-party games, it's not on Microsoft to kind of, make sure the games are amazing or anything like that, but to have great games on Game Pass, especially day one, that it just bolsters the value of the subscription. People, if you're going to put a bunch of 85s, 90s, you know, even low 80s games on Game Pass, it brings the value up. The, you know, thing with Game Pass right now that people are trying to dig at it is, oh, it's a bunch of just, you know, throwaway games, or like 5-hour games, or indie games, or like 65 to 70 rated games on Metacritic. It's not. Basically, Game Pass is just like a bunch of fodder to just throw in there to beef it up, which Xbox obviously wants to change the narrative on that. And now I want to talk about hardware. So none of these have been officially announced by Microsoft yet, but we did see them in those the leaks from the FTC trial. Of course, Xbox leaked their own plans, but we did get the plans for a mid-gen refresh for both the Xbox Series X and S. So the new refresh for the Series X is going to be called the Brooklyn, and it looks to eliminate the disk drive. So this is going towards that whole all digital future, just focusing on Game Pass, everything like that. Like, we didn't get, you know, every single detail if this was still coming out. I think it's still coming out. Most people do think it's still coming out. It's going to have 2 terabytes instead of the standard 1 terabyte, which makes sense since you can't, you know, play the games off disc. And, you know, it's kind of, you can't tell, like, it kind of looks like a tall, like, Alexa type system or whatever. So you have that. And then for the Series S, we have the Elwood refresh. So it looked like their plans for the timeline was launch the Series S refresh first, try to take, you know, advantage of some of those like holiday sales, and then launch, you know, the big boy probably in like November or something like that, which kind of coincides with, we've been hearing rumors of like a PlayStation 5 Pro or mid-gen refresh. And then we know the Switch 2 or Super Switch or whatever they're going to call it is going to come at some point later this year as well. So it seems like the big three are all planning to drop some form of new hardware at some point this year. And then in the leaks, we also saw a new controller. So the Sebele, not sure how to exactly pronounce it, but the details on it is it's going to be kind of like the DualSense controller for the PS5, where you have the haptic feedback and the different, you know, as you're playing, the buttons, you know, loosen or harden depending on how you're playing with like a shotgun, or feels like you're actually pulling back like a bow and arrow and things like that, which I think would work really well with games like Tomb Raider or anything like that. So we'll have to see. It's supposed to be like $70, which I think makes sense with all the technology going on in the controller and everything. So again, these were all leaks, but they were leaks from directly from Xbox internal files. Phil Spencer said, you know, these things change and everything like that, but we'll just have to see, of course, like everything else. And then last up, I wanted to talk about what everybody's arguing over online, which is Xbox going third party? And for people that don't know, there used to be certain companies that put out systems. We'll say Sega, for example. For a lot of you watching this, maybe you don't know, but Sega used to have their own systems. They had the Sega Saturn, the Genesis, and the Dreamcast, which obviously did not sell well, and then put them out of business, and now they're fully third-party company, which works for them, right? They're putting out great Sonic games. They have Atlas, so they're putting out, you know, Persona and Soul Hackers and all these other games. But is Microsoft going third party? Now, to me, no. I think people need to look at companies do things how people do. Companies do what makes sense for them and not just try to chase what everybody else is doing. For example, PlayStation doesn't really put their games anywhere else. They just recently started putting their games on PC. So they have a similar thing with PlayStation Now, or PlayStation Plus as it's called now, to Gamepass, and, you know, Nintendo Switch did the same thing with Nintendo Switch Online, but they all do it differently. PlayStation knows their users are going to buy their games day one. They're going to pay $70, $80, whatever to play Spider-Man, God of War, Horizon. They're going to spend that money. So to them, putting their games day one on Game Pass or PlayStation Plus doesn't make sense. Xbox doesn't sell that much. Their philosophy right now is, hey, we want to put Game Pass in as many places as possible. We want to bolster our digital marketplace. Like the console market is kind of plateaued. Even with, you know, Sony selling 50 million PS5s and all that, right? Like, could they sell 100 million? Maybe. That would be great, but it's like there's also money to be made, you know, software sales, you know, subscriptions, licensing your games out. There's a lot of money being left on the table, and again, at some point you have to expand where your revenue was coming from. So this is coming from reports where people are saying that Hi-Fi Rush, which was a great game that came out last year, will be coming to possibly the Nintendo Switch. I don't know, there's rumors of PlayStation. I don't know about PlayStation. It's possible, but I can definitely see the Switch. So we've seen that relationship between Microsoft and Nintendo. We've seen Ori, Cuphead, obviously Minecraft is everywhere because it's just a huge game, and Microsoft will be not smart to just keep it on their console. Even plans for Call of Duty in the future, at least for the next 10 years, have been saying, hey, Call of Duty is going to be on everything, because why would you limit it to just Xbox? Now, you want to use that marketing to pull people into your ecosystem, sure, but until that time happens, you want to go where everybody else is. Give them the ability to play. Like, it's harder to bring people to your platform rather than meeting them where they're at already, which I think you can do a little of both, right? You pick certain titles. Now, Hi-Fi Rush, I think, will be a great game on Switch. It's, you know, it has that style. You can play it handheld portably. Of course, the Switch 2 is supposed to have, you know, upgraded graphics and everything like that. So I think that will be great. You know, like I mentioned, Cuphead, all these other games work on the Switch. So I think certain games, Xbox bringing them over, people don't need to panic on that. Like, I know console sales aren't there right now and everything like that, and we don't have the big AAA exclusives really like that. I mean, a bunch came out last year, you know, Redfall, or, well, we don't want to talk about Redfall, but, you know, Starfield, Forza, everything like that. And then everything we have down the pipeline, Hellblade, Avowed, Clockwork Revolution, South of Midnight, all these games coming out. So I do not think Xbox is going to go full third party. Will they expand how much they have their games on other systems? For sure, but I think they're going to take the smart approach with pushing more of the, you can call it indie style games, you know, the lower budget, AA, single A games. Put those out, try to get Game Pass on as many devices as you can, and, you know, you go from there. I think people are so short-sighted when it comes to how these companies want to make their money. Now, of course, Microsoft has been able to survive because they're just a $1 trillion company and they got cash flow, you know, out the wazoo that other companies wouldn't be able to do. But I think people just need to pump the brakes. You know, it's not a sign of, oh, Xbox is leaving and all that. And I think the other thing is people need to not champion that. Like, we shouldn't be excited for another big player to leave the gaming space. You know, more competition, more options, more, you know, great games and things like that is needed in the industry. You don't want to just be stuck with one or two systems. They can play, you know, charge whatever they want because they're the only video game console. They don't get pushed to, you know, alter their ecosystem or how they do business because there's no competition. We do not want that. So is Xbox going full third party? I do not think so. If they do, it's not within the next, I'd say, 10 years or so. I think they'll finish out this generation. This will define where they go, and then next generation they'll figure it out after that. Whatever happens after the next generation, that remains to be seen. But I think people need to not freak out on hearing these reports of Hi-Fi Rush or Sea of Thieves or any of these other games going to other platforms. It's just business sense. It's just good business sense to bring those games to other systems and make some more money so you can pour it into your actual console exclusives. And so that pretty much wraps it up, guys. That's all my thoughts on, you know, where Xbox finished the year last year, what they're going to do this year and beyond, and some of those decisions that we should be seeing coming as far as the company goes. So y'all let me know what y'all think about everything, what games you're looking forward to for Xbox. Please make sure you do leave a like on this video, subscribe if you have not already, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.